Another one?
What's up and welcome to another one. Today's string of the day is Durafluxx by Tier 1. If you don't know Tier 1, I feel like you should. I highly recommend this company, especially if you're into any strings like Solinco. I really kind of think of these guys as a competitor to Solinco, partly because of the price point, but a lot of the characteristics of the strings as well. That Solinco string Hyper-G is sort of frustrating to me. I know it's a great string, but I'm kind of just so sick of walking out on the tennis court and every like pretty good tennis player out there that has the Wilson blade has freaking Hyper-G on there, and I'm just so tired of seeing that for some reason. It's like such a cliche that it kind of frustrates me. So I'm personally a little sick of seeing Solinco out there because I feel like that Hyper-G string is largely only popular because of that bright neon green color. But I know it's also a legitimately good string at the same time. But you know, if it wasn't that color, would that many people really try it or care? So here's a string, Durafluxx by Tier 1, that I stand by very strongly. It offers a lot of the characteristics you would want, especially if you're looking for like a high performance string. If you have the skill level to access the benefits of this string, you will be rewarded. It's a low powered poly with lots of durability, lots of spin, lots of control. And again, it's one of those strings that kind of offers you everything, but it takes the skill level to be able to access it, whereas a lot of strings kind of offer you a lot of power, which makes that barrier to entry lower for players that maybe aren't able to generate a lot of their own power. But if you're a player that is, you know, probably at least like at the 4.0, 4.5 level, you'll start to really reap the benefits of a string like this. So my intention isn't necessarily to limit the audience to the more advanced players, but that's who I would think that this string is actually specialized for. And that's something that Tier 1 said. When I talked to them, I talked to one of the owners of the company, and he basically said that this is probably their top recommendation for strings that their higher level players are going to use. And I have a lot of Tier 1 strings on me right now, and I've gotten to know quite a few of them. And this is one of my favorites, and I've played with a lot in hybrid setups. This one's great in the mains and the crosses, or in a full bed. Whereas they have a string that's more popular called Firewire, and that's a great string too, but I would also kind of say it's a little bit more lively. It's a great string, but I think the higher level players are going to appreciate something like Durafluxx a little bit more. A set of these strings is quite affordable. This one goes for $8.95 a set, and if you go to the Tier 1 website, they're offering 40% off of all string sets for new customers, so I would get that deal while you can. I also see these strings on Amazon, so I'll leave a link there below as well as to the Tier 1 website. You can look at reviews on the Tier 1 website. People have a lot of good things to say, and you can kind of tell by the way the company has explained their strings that they're kind of unusually transparent about how they feel about their strings, and I appreciate that honesty. It kind of just means that they're giving their customer base and tennis players a lot of respect, whereas so many companies, like, they just sort of have these string sets, and they, you know, take Solinco for example. Every string that they have is like max power, max control, and it's like, come on, you can't really have both of those things, can you? So I think a lot of strings kind of pander to a lot of the marketing gimmicks. They just say a lot of buzzwords, you know, tennis buzzwords, and this company really doesn't do that. If you ask them what their best string is and what level you play at, I think they'll have a super honest recommendation for you. So you can poke around on the website. Obviously, you're going to have to work with whatever works best for you, but I also feel like that you can really trust the way that they market their strings, because they just seem to really want the strings that they made to find the appropriate audience, whereas I feel like a lot of other string companies are just trying to make their strings as popular as possible. So with that said, on top of the fact that these Durafluxx strings and all of Tier 1 strings are relatively affordable, they're very reasonably priced, I think regardless of those two things, I think Tier 1 just makes excellent strings, and I would already put them at one of my favorite string companies ever made, because I've really just never seen anyone blend this level of quality and transparency at this price point. And if you just eliminate something like the price point, I would still say that these strings are one of the best that you can get. And I have a few other Tier 1 strings that I would kind of put in that same category. This one just sort of leans towards more advanced control oriented tennis play, but it also has a hexagonal shape to it, so it's very aggressively shaped for a lot of topspin. So it really is an interesting string, and it offers a lot of characteristics that if you have the skill, you can totally tap into. But they have different strings that are also for higher level players that just offer a little bit more of this or a little bit more of that, and sometimes you can combine them in a hybrid setup to get the combination that maybe works the best for you. But I also just have fun messing with hybrid combinations, so I'll be doing a few more videos on some of my favorite Tier 1 hybrid combinations, but I'll also do a few more with just a full bed of this or that string. So stay tuned for that. Please like and subscribe if you like the content. And again, check out the links in the description to see where you can get these strings. And if you ever get a chance to say hi to Tier 1, let them know that Time for Tennis sent you. Let me know in the comments, what is your current favorite string? What strings are you curious about? This string seems to kind of float under the radar, even for a company like Tier 1, so I wanted to do a video on it. But if you have heard of this company, I feel like you've probably heard of a string called Ghostwire or Firewire. And those two are really popular in a hybrid setup with Tier 1's Firewire in the mains, which is actually probably the only place I would recommend having those, is in the mains. Whereas Ghostwire is really kind of a string I would say is specialized as a cross string. But those two work super well in their respective place on a tennis racket. But I'm starting to get into a subject that's probably better for another video, so I'll talk about that stuff in a future one. So like and subscribe if you want to stay tuned and not miss that. And I will see you guys in a future video. Thanks for watching.